In the very quiet town of Ibuzo lived Mama Ego, Papa Ego, and Ego herself, a young girl in a small, modest house. Here, a dangerous plan was hatched by Mama Ego, a woman hungry for riches. She called her daughter Ego close to her and whispered, "Look, Ego, you have to trap the wealthy Uncle J. If you say that the child belongs to him, we shall begin to swim in money. His money will become ours, and our problems will be over in no time." When Ego heard this, she trembled. She was already going through some emotional stress. It was discovered that she was pregnant for a boy she hardly loved, and Mama Ego wants the child claimed as Uncle J's own. That will amount to stretching her emotions too thin. She muted. She had also heard about Juliet, Uncle J's wife. She was said to be a no-nonsense woman and could go any length to defend her matrimonial home. She narrated her fears to her mom, but the mom still encouraged her to go ahead with the plan after promising her that it was a watertight plan. Meanwhile, Papa Ego was snoring away in the next room, ignorant of the whole plot, while the future of her innocent daughter was being badly decided. Papa Ego, in fairness to him, did not know where his wife. For all he cares, his times of suffering were over. Money, palm wine, and all sorts of goods kept flowing in. But he did not, for once, bother to ask where they were getting these things from. Unfortunately, he was just being used. Blinded by greed, he took the monies and was not asking questions. Uncle J was one of the very powerful, rich and generous men in town. His wealth, by the estimation of the town's folks, could only be equated to the likes of the Dangotes and the Bill Gates of our time. But there is one problem which they have. They had no child of their own. Hence, while the people acknowledge their wealth and generosity, the petty gossips will tell you that they do not sleep at night. Why? According to these gossips, who could not just mind their own businesses, the couple were always busy thinking about their childlessness every night. How can anybody think like this? Is that not irresponsibility? Well, or some level of joblessness? It was this same weakness that Mama Ego wanted to exploit. Very soon, Mama Ego had one or two things to do with Juliet, Uncle J's wife. Ego became the errand girl. In the process, Ego encountered Uncle J. And Uncle J, being a very generous person, began to spread his generosity. Ego benefits. Mama Ego also benefits. She began to put her plans into action. Ego began to frequent the place. The villagers observed and began to gossip. They said Ego was pregnant. But for who? They asked, since she was not yet married. The answer will come for Uncle J, of course. Who else? They countered. Can't you see their movements? Lies began to make the rounds. Such lies that are only equated with wildfire in a very dry forest. Before long, the rumors had gone round. They would say, "Did you hear? Have you not heard? Ego and Uncle Jay are having a nice time." The rumors became very strong, sometimes fueled by Mama Ego herself to make her plans very strong. Ego was caught in the crossfire, and the rope tightened around her neck, just like a thief caught in the act and being dealt a jungle justice. Such gossips do not hide for too long. Soon Juliet heard. She did not bother to confirm truth. She was already angry at her childlessness and the gossips around her situation. She went into overdrive like a lioness whose cubs were being threatened. Her heart burned with rage. She was not going to take any of this. Inwardly, she fears for her position. It were true. She was not going to sit down here and do nothing. Without any consultation, she swung into action. In her journey through life, she had had some cheated women take certain actions that she considered unfortunate. But that was them. But now it was her turn. She was willing to go the extra mile, even if it involves war of some sort. She was not going to sit here and watch some young lady destabilize her home. She swore to protect her marriage at all costs. Over the course of time, she had come across some men in the city, heartless men who could do anything for a fee. When a woman is blinded by jealousy, her fury knows no boundary. These heartless men were the ones she called upon to do some dirty job for her. This nonsense has got to stop. She was not going to take chances, nor wait to find out if the story was true or false. The dangerous men came at her call. She paid and ordered them to take action. These lies or otherwise were not going to destroy my home, she said. Not now, not even later. They promised to see her request through. She paid them very well and gave them all the information they would need. They left the place as quietly as they came. They were professionals and knew that doing a job like that needs as much confidentiality as possible. All was now set for the showdown. There was no going back. This will teach them and others like them a lesson, she said. You don't mess with a lion cub while the lioness was around the corner. Not even the Lion King himself dares to do that, or he will live to regret his actions. One night, a bus drove on top speed into the village. The bus and its occupants have been waiting outside the village for almost 2 hours. They were waiting for the green light from an informant in the village. The informant had acted as a stranger from outside the village and had been monitoring the movements of the target for the past 3 days. The informant had told them that the target usually goes to fetch water in the evenings and comes back at dusk when it was getting dark. They thought that was the best time to strike. As soon as the informant saw her coming back, he sent the message and the bus drove dangerously into the village. Soon Ego, with a keg of water balanced on her head like a character in a circus show, was coming back from the stream. The bus came to a screeching stop by her side, knocking off the water she was carrying in the process. Ego was surprised and was taken unawares. She opened her mouth to shout, but some very rough hands covered her mouth, almost choking her. Before she knew what was happening, she was dragged into the bus and blindfolded. The bus turned rapidly and sped off into the same direction as it came. All the petty traders who were sitting by the side of the road abandoned their wares and ran away for safety. The trap which Mama Ego had set was now beginning to backfire in a more dangerous way. She has now fallen into a pit that she dug for her opponents. News like this spreads like wildfire. Quickly, news reached Mama Ego about what happened. How a vehicle drove dangerously down the road and got Ego kidnapped. Some accounts even added that the kidnappers came with a machine gun and were spraying the bullets all over the place. You know, people can tell stories beyond the ordinary. She began to weep uncontrollably for her daughter. Little did she know that she brought the whole thing upon herself. As she was crying, Papa Ego was coming back, half drunk, half sober, singing along, only to meet the very sad story at home. Ego, my ego has been kidnapped, wailed Mama Ego. What are we going to do? Cried Mama Ego. The drunkenness quickly disappeared from his face, as if by magic. And that foolish smile you always find on the faces of drunkards immediately disappeared. It was like something touched his thinking abilities, and he quickly became sober and began to act intelligently again. He responded and said, Adama. Adama was the pet name for Mama Ego. Why are you crying? What are you talking about? What have you done to her? I have thought that the type of money that you people were parading in recent times smelt of trouble. To whom did you sell our daughter? From his response, it became obvious that he was very suspicious of the money and its source. But for some reason, greed perhaps, he could not just question the source. As long as the money was coming, he was ready to accept without asking questions. But now that the chips are down, somebody has to take responsibility and begin to explain. Very soon the news got to Uncle Jay. He was dumbfounded when he heard it. But he quickly pulled himself together. He knew about the negative news that have been making the rounds recently. He also knew that Stella had been bitter about the whole thing. She had also been asking some probing questions recently. He had told her that there was no truth in the rumors whatsoever. But she had persisted. From the way she was behaving, he knew that his explanations were not satisfactory enough. He knew that Juliet was a very jealous person. She was also very intelligent and homely, but could be very jealous to a fault. He knew what she was capable of doing and hoped the kidnappers have not gone too far. Juliet, he shouted, why have you chosen to play God over this matter? I understand how you feel, but why did you choose to go this far, even after all the explanations I offered to you? Do you think I will be lying over this matter? What exactly do you want to achieve by taking such an extreme action? Have I not told you to leave this matter in the hands of God? Upon seeing his reaction, Stella began to understand that her husband was saying the whole truth. They have been married for such a long time for her to know when he was dead serious about issues, especially issues of this nature. Juliet immediately broke down and began to weep. I did it. It was me that did it. I did not want to share you with anybody. I was afraid she was going to destroy our home. I was afraid she would destroy my marriage if I keep quiet. I was not ready to let that happen. I am sorry. Uncle Jay was not going to sit by and watch an innocent person suffer unnecessarily over a petty rumor or gossip. He quickly got a few of his boys together, issued instructions, and they went into action looking for Ego. They eventually traced her to an abandoned building in the next town. She was bruised, weak, and traumatized. They eventually brought her back to Uncle Jay's compound. Then Ego broke down and began to weep and confess. I am sorry. I am very sorry. The pregnancy is not yours. My mom told me to lie about it. She told me that monies will come to us as soon as I make such confessions and claims. I am very sorry. I am indeed sorry. She said your money and your clout will help get us out of poverty and want. Mama Ego was seated there, rooted on her seat. She could not say anything. She bowed her head in shame. She knew the game was over, and there was nothing else she could do about it. Papa Ego too was stunned. He covered his face in shame. He felt he was at fault and an accessor to the crime. He kept taking money from a people that are not into any known means of earning such money. He could have asked questions, but was overtaken by greed. What if Ego was eliminated? Certainly, he couldn't have exonerated himself from the crime. He just kept moping and said nothing. The truth eventually came out after all the very serious troubles. Ego later gave birth and became very hardworking for herself. Papa Ego never got drunk again. He ran away from the palm wine joint like someone evading a leprous patient. He swore never to get drunk again. He had never stopped blaming himself as part of the whole problem. Mama Ego was full of regrets for a fire she started. She learned to live within her own small world. Just look at where greed and wanting too much had taken me, she said. She never forgave herself for what happened, but learned never to be greedy again, as greed brings nothing but sorrow. Uncle Jay, in his usual manner, forgot the whole thing and forgave everybody involved. At the end of the day, Juliet was happy when the couple decided to adopt a few children as their own. Their home was to become filled with laughter and joy after the adoption of the children. Uncle Jay, with his big heart, also decided to help Ego train the child whose father Ego was not really sure of. For the village, the land that lies may be having a field day now, but truth will eventually overtake and last forever. If you have listened to this story and you like it, please share, like, and subscribe. You may also wish to leave your comments on the comment section of this video. Thank you very much for being there.